Hey everyone, Brent here from Brand Neurals, and welcome to this very special video. I had to put this together because from all the traders that I've worked with and all the books that I've read in regards to trading, it all comes down to there's one thing that's fucking up your trading. And if you've heard of Warren Buffett and all these other success coaches and lots of other people, they all say success in any field is only over 20% strategy and 80% psychology or mindset. Now, the reason emotions are so important is because we can have all the strategies, we can technically know what to do, but if we don't feel confident or we're trading from a place of fear or greed or hope or doubt or regret or any of that sort of stuff, that's what can cloud our judgment. And this is why the 80% of keeping our emotions in check is really, really important. Now, I remember when I was in high school, like public speaking used to be my biggest fear. I just couldn't stand it, and I just hated the thought of it. But I remember when I went up to do a talk, I think I was in like grade 9 or grade 10, the teacher said, just don't be nervous. It's like, don't be nervous. Like, what the fuck, I'm nervous. Like, how can I not be? But with regards to trading, we have all these dysfunctional emotions that come up from time to time, like fear, for example. We have the fear of being wrong. We have the fear of missing out. We have the fear of leaving money on the table, exiting trades too soon. We have fears of, looking silly in front of our friends. I'm sure, like, if you've ever paid to learn trading or paid to do any other course over your life, we all have this fear of what if it doesn't work out? How do you handle a cluster of bad trades? Like anyone can go in the market and pick a winning trade from time to time, but it's a consistency that we're all after, right? So how are you handling a cluster of trades that go against you? Now, greed can be another big problem because when we're greedy, that's when we can tend to overtrade. That's when when we have when we have a good run and a lot of trades go our way and our accounts going up, we start to feel really confident in ourselves. We start to feel, overconfident. We get that euphoric feeling because it's like that gambling thing when you have a winning streak. But the thing with euphoria is that's what leads to invincibility, and that's what leads to a false sense of confidence. And when we're in those states, that's when we can start to break our own rules from time to time. So rather than trading, 1 to 2% of your account, that's when you think, okay, I know what I'm doing, I've got this, and that's when you can start to put on 5, 6, 7, 8, up to 10%, and then all of a sudden you got a trade go your way. All those little wins that you've been building up over time can all of a sudden be wiped out. Right? So what does that do to your emotional state? And then after a period of time, if you have a cluster of trades to go against you and you have a cluster of bad trades, that's what starts to create doubt. And this is where psychology is everything. And when we can start to trade from a place of neutrality, that's when the consistency can start to come from having a really solid mechanical strategy without having your emotions get in the way and really fucking your shit up. Hope is another bad one. Now, if you're ever in a trade and you're crossing your fingers hoping for it to go your way, you're doing something very, very wrong. And I want you to stop now. I want you to get in touch because we can help get rid of all those emotions that's really getting in the way of crippling you. Now, before we get into it, I just want to introduce you to one of the traders I've worked with, Toby. He's an amazing guy, really good trader, really switched on operator. But the week after our session, he actually made a 38% profit on his account just in 1 week. So, everyone, this is Toby. So, hear what he has to say.
It really is serious, yeah. But I'm not special. I'm a normal guy. Everyone should have the benefit of this because there's so many people who are so much more going on than me who could really benefit. You're gonna be a busy man, Brent.
How much of a difference are you going to be able to trade from this place as opposed to what you were like an hour ago?
So much more. Really, I was just, looking back, I thought I was kind of in a fairly good place, but I can see I was just jumbled up and there was a lot going on. Pretty clear, yeah.
Good.
I'm very positive, pretty excited about the future, just a lot of possibilities, endless possibilities.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a massive problem, 1 being not at all, where are you sitting at now?
Down to 1.
Down to 1?
Sure, yeah.
I'll take that.
I love that, Brent. Yeah. Really good, Brent. Thank you. Yeah. Incredible. couple of hours, eh? It's pretty amazing, Brent.
Yeah. Now, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Now, fear, is, as we all know, is one of the driving emotions that really can tend to cripple our accounts. And we have a fear of failure bred into us from our school days. We all have a fear of looking bad, a fear of being embarrassed, a fear of losing money, especially if we've worked hard our whole lives. We've and especially paid someone thousands of dollars to learn a trading strategy. It's a very different ball game to switch from trading from a demo account to a live account. It's a little bit like a basketball player can practice shooting hoops from the free throw line. He can practice hours after hours after hours, and he can get them like boom, 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 boom. They're going like clockwork. It's a very different game when it's the grand final. There's 2 seconds left, and you've got to shoot from the free throw line to win the match, and the crowd's going crazy. Like, there's a lot of pressure. That's the difference between trading on your demo account versus trading on your live account. Now, when you start to shift the way that we view failure and remove that completely, and I just want you to replace the word failure with feedback. Now, the reason this is important is because when we get feedback, we can work with that. Whereas if we have failure, there's a lot of emotional attachments and connotations associated with that. Now, whether you make money in a trade or whether you lose money, like, that event itself is actually neutral. Like, the only thing that makes that good or bad is the meaning that we associate with it. Now, just as an example, when I was over in London or the UK a couple of years ago, I was doing a ride with Help for Heroes. It was a big battlefield bike ride, a whole bunch of ex-veterans, and we rode 600k along the Western Front. Now, when I was over there, I met this guy named John, and coincidentally, we've got the same birthday. Now, John had a motorbike accident, and he actually lost his arm. And it was a really, really interesting story, and I just absolutely love his perspective, and I share this with lots of my clients because I couldn't imagine what it would be like to lose an arm. However, for John, I saw him being interviewed on the BBC one day, and he actually said the day he lost his arm, it was actually the best thing that ever happened to him. And I just thought that's such an amazing, incredible perspective to have. And the meaning he gave that is because ever since then, his life has a meaning. He's ridden for the UK in the Invictus Games. He's done lots of rides. He does lots of talks. He helps lots of people. And he's got an amazing relationship. And he's just got a really, really good life. Now, some people, that same event could happen, have a really bad motorbike accident, lose a limb, and their life is just never the same again. And they go on a spiral of depression. And we all know how that story could go. But it's just a really incredible example of like an event that for lots of us could be really quite horrific. But for John, he's just made it in such an amazing thing. And his life is just incredible. So I've got a lot of respect for him, but because I don't know how I would cope with it. But it's just a really good example of if certain things can happen to us in our lives. Now, whether it's losing, whether it's blowing an account, blowing 3 accounts, having trades go your way, having a whole heap of trades going against you. Those things, those events, they are only neutral. It's the meaning that we give it. So if there's something, so rather than seeing it as something that I've failed or I've lost money or giving that event a whole heap of dysfunctional meanings, the one question I want you to ask yourself, and this will change your perspective on everything, is what else could this mean? Could it mean that you've broken your own trading rules? Could it mean that you haven't followed the system exactly? Could it mean you're chasing trades? Could it mean you're just being greedy? Could it mean you've got a fear of missing out? Or could it mean that you just lost patience in that moment? Right? There's a whole heap of other reasons as to why a trade may go against you. Now, stress comes from making things more important than they really are. Now, we can make things so much more important in our subjective mind than what they are in our objective reality. And just for an example, I remember before I learned and had a deeper understanding of all this stuff, I remember one day I was in the car driving to get a haircut, and I was driving down the highway. Traffic was banked up, and I knew I was going to be late. I could feel this stress, this pressure just building up. And my girlfriend at the time couldn't understand why I was just losing my mind because I was going to be late for a haircut. The thing I realized now is from the military days. If we were ever late for something, or were AWOL, or if we needed to be at a Casevac at 1800 because one of our friends was shot or injured and a helicopter's going to be waiting, the only thing that was going to stop us from being there would be bullets, right? So the reason I say that is the subconscious doesn't differentiate the difference between being late for a haircut or being late for a Casevac or being AWOL and having getting in a whole heap of trouble. So this is why when stress used to build up, it was nothing to do with what was going on around me. It was everything to do with the story and the meaning I was giving something in that moment. But I wasn't consciously aware of it. It was just something that's happening on autopilot. So if your trade's going against you and you're starting to make silly decisions, or you're starting to place trades where you know you shouldn't, but it feels like you've got an invisible hand guiding you, I just want you to stop and ask yourself, what's the reason it's actually happening? Is it the strategy, or is it your emotions? Because if it's a strategy and it's been back tested and it's just a mechanical black and white strategy and you're breaking those rules, just ask yourself, what are the reasons why? Is it a fear of loss? Is it a fear of failure? Are you being greedy? Are you starting to slip into the gambling mindset? What is it really? And what is it really telling you? Now, as humans, we all have 6 human needs. I won't go into all of them, but fundamentally, we've all heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Now, we also have psychological needs. We all have a need for certainty. So we all have a need that the chair we're sitting on is going to support us. We all have a need that the people in our lives are going to be there in the ways that we need them. We all have a need for shelter, all the things that give us life and give us sustenance. This is also the reason why you might have a favorite shirt, or why you have a favorite restaurant, why sometimes you watch the same movie over and over again. Like, I watch Star Wars all the time because it's just one of those things that anchors me into my childhood. So I get a really strong feeling of certainty or comfort from that. And paradoxically, we also have a need for variety. So this is why you probably heard variety is the spice of life. It's why we take holidays. It's why after a certain amount of time, some people in a relationship if they've got too much certainty in a relationship, can start looking for variety or uncertainty in other relationships. It's why we go to different restaurants and want to try new things, and why we would always want to try and grow. We have a need also for significance, which is a need for feeling important. It's why the Instagram culture is blown up, because everyone has this need for feeling important, for feeling unique. It's why people go into like hot dog eating competitions. We can also get our feelings of significance from trading. We all want to have that feeling of significance that, yes, I've made it. Yes, I'm in the 10% that are actually killing it in trading. We also have a need for connection. Now, this is why people have joined sporting groups. It's why we crave intimate relationships. It's why we have friendships. It's why football teams and football clubs, they all congregate in this whole us versus them mentality. We all get a sense of connection, whether it's through football clubs or even pets, right? Now, all of these needs, they can all get met in both functional ways or dysfunctional ways. So the thing is, with trading, we all have this need for certainty, and especially if you've invested a lot of time and money in learning a strategy or learning a process, or you've bought these indicators and you're just doing what your mentors taught you. When trades go against us, or we have a cluster of bad trades, it's like, okay, well, I'm not getting certainty in trading in that area, so how else can I get certainty? So you can get certainty by putting a trade on, because that it's a certain activity, what's going to happen, and you might not know the outcome, but you know the feeling. So even if a trade's not there in that moment when it's very uncertain, a really quick way to get certainty is to put a trade on and overtrade, and a really quick way. And alternately, if you're getting too much certainty, so if you've got a whole heap of trades to go against you, right, a quick way to get variety is to change a strategy or break your rules, right? So it's all these little things that drive our decision-making process in the background that we're not quite consciously aware of. And one of the biggest bits of feedback I get from my clients after sessions is they go from being self-reactive and self-conscious to becoming a lot more self-aware and thinking about what they're actually thinking about. So this is why, if you're trading from a place of where you got trades going your way and you get really excited, really pumped, really happy, over the moon, fuck yeah, I'm the gun, getting really euphoric and getting that invincibility feeling, and then all of a sudden you get trades to go against you and you swing back this way, and you're starting to be fearful, doubtful, regret, hopeful. Right? If you're trading from either of those places, I want you to stop. Because if you're not trading from a place that's completely neutral and then from a place of neutrality and almost like a bot, then you're doing something wrong. But if it feels like an invisible hand's been guiding your trading, then this is probably one of the reasons why. It's these automatic negative thoughts that can lead to things and have you start to question yourself, like, am I going to lose money? What are my partners and what are my friends going to think? Am I going to look embarrassed? Am I even doing the right thing? Am I even cut out for this? Should I go back to my job? Like, all these negative thoughts. Have I wasted money learning a new skill? Like, am I even cut out for this? Does trading even work? Is this all a scam? There's a whole heap of negative thoughts that, if we're not consciously aware of, can start to take us in a direction that's not conducive for us or isn't in our best interest. The one question that I want you to ask yourself is, when you start to notice negative thoughts, what else could this mean? Right? So you've had a cluster of trades go against you. Rather than thinking, I've wasted all my money, this system doesn't work, doubting the strategy, starting to think about getting your money back from your mentor. Once all these things start to come in, I just want you to stop. When your emotions aren't like swinging from happy to sad, when your emotions are neutral, ask yourself, what else could this mean? And really think about, what else could this mean? Maybe it's you need to really readdress your strategy. Maybe you're just making silly decisions. Maybe you're trading from an emotional place. Just really stop and ask yourself, what else could this mean? Now, when there's a battle between the conscious and the subconscious mind, the subconscious is always going to win. Now, it's a little bit like, I'm sure every New Year's you hear all these people say, I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to 10x my business, I'm going to, quit my job and dedicate my whole life to trading. Right? Consciously, that's something that they want. However, subconsciously, that's where all the power is. So if someone wants to quit smoking, for example, New Year's Eve comes along, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year, I'm going to quit smoking. 2 days later, they're catching up with their mates again, talking about New Year's. They're all sitting around having a drink, having a cigarette. Their crew, or their subconscious, they're in a place, they're in an environment, they're around all the old triggers. It's time to smoke, right? Now, I'll explain the difference between the conscious and the subconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind, or the captain, he's the one that steers the ship. He's the one that makes the decisions. He's the one that learns all the information. So he's the one that learns the strategy. It's the subconscious, or the crew, that maintains the boat. It's the crew that preps the sails, scrubs the decks, does all the stuff to maintain the body and keeps it in check. It's the subconscious mind that is the habitual mind. It's the subconscious mind that is keeping a lookout for danger. It's the subconscious mind that's keeping the boat or the body safe. But this is where, when we start to get into trades and we have a cluster of bad trades, this is when some of the crew can start to pipe up and say, see, trading's dangerous. And we start to remember all these old patterns, all these old times, other stories of other people possibly losing money, or trades going against them. So this is where that fear comes from. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the subconscious or the crew is doing a really, really, really good job at keeping you safe. However, the conscious mind only makes up about 5% of how our mind works and how we operate. It's the crew that makes up about 95%. So if there's ever a battle between the conscious and the subconscious is always going to win. It's a little bit like trying to put out a bonfire with a water pistol. It's a little bit like when people want to quit smoking. Back to that example. Consciously, they can say they can quit smoking for like 3 days. But over time, when they're just operating on autopilot and they're around their friends again and they're having a cigarette, or all those old triggers start to pile up, it's very easy for the crew to go, see, that's right, we're smokers, we're a smoker. And it reinforces that identity. Now, the difference between just talking about problems and what I actually do is I don't talk to the conscious mind. All the work I do and all the work that we've been doing just recalibrates the gap between the conscious and the subconscious mind. So consciously, you know how to trade. Consciously, you know your strategy. And when you feel that push, pull, or that inner conflict, or I should put a trade on, or start to hesitate, what's happening is internally there's the conscious or the captain and the crew are just out of rapport. Right? There's that inner conflict. That's what's creating that pain, or creating that tightness, or creating whatever those dysfunctional feelings are that is stopping you from putting trades on. That's really, really sabotaging your account. Because consciously, you'll know what to do. Consciously, you'll know how to trade. Consciously, you know your patterns, you know your charts, you know your indicators. It's your subconscious, or the crew, that's causing you to hesitate, that's causing you to overtrade, that's causing you to, cross your fingers and hope. It's causing you to blow your accounts, right? So if you're trading and you've made, tens or even hundreds of $1,000s in your demo account, but your live account is really struggling and you can't quite make it, that's how much your subconscious is costing you, right? Like, technically, if you can make money in your demo account, but you can't make it happen in your live account, technically, consciously, you know what to do. It's your crew or subconscious that is sabotaging your efforts, and that's how much it's costing you. So the one thing that's fucking up your trading is expectation. Because when you're getting into a trade, you have an expectation that you followed the strategy, or you've done what your mentors taught you to do. You're following the indicators. So you've done this. So mentally, subconsciously, you've ticked all these boxes. So you're expecting the trade to go your way. Now let me ask you a question. When you get into a trade, or when you enter a trade, can you control what happens afterwards? Can you? No, you can't. And if someone's put you in a system, or someone's told you and sold you a lie that you can, they're full of crap. So if you're taking trades on a trade by trade basis, and you get 3 or 4 trades that go wrong or go against you, and then you're starting to freak out because your crew or your subconscious is losing it and saying, well, the trading doesn't work, it's a scam, it's all gambling, and all these old limiting beliefs and dysfunctional feelings are coming up, you're probably taking things on a trade by trade basis. This is when you start to feel the pendulum going from really happy to really sad, really fearful. That's when I just want you to stop, take a breath, and think about it, and just come back to a calm, neutral place and ask yourself, what else could this mean? Are you following the strategy? Are you trading from a neutral place? Are you guaranteed to get, because you follow the strategy, your trade's going to go your way? No, it's not. So when you're flipping a coin, you're eventually going to get heads and tails. You just don't know the sequence of what's going to come out. Your trading strategy is exactly the same. A trading strategy is nothing more than a predictable outcome based off past events. It's no guarantee that because you've ticked all the boxes, you've got divergence, you're going with the trend. There's no guarantee that once you enter a trade, it's going to go long or it's going to go short. You just don't know. So this is why if you're getting into trades with the expectation it's going to go your way based off stuff that you've done in the past, regardless of how many times it's gone right, that's what's going to start to trigger all these emotions like fear and greed and regret and hope. Now, if any of this resonates with you, or your demo account's up here and your live account's down here, and it's costing you a lot of money, or even if you've blown an account and you know that you want to be a trader, you're confident with your strategy, but it's just your emotions getting in the way, and click the link under this video. I will have a free consultation, and I'll take you through a process that's going to release all the emotions associated with anything that's happened in the past, and we'll start to we'll recalibrate the way that you think. So rather than having that inner conflict with the captain and the crew, or the conscious and the subconscious mind, the captain and the crew are going to be a lot more in rapport, right? And it's just you're going to be trading from a place where your emotions just aren't getting in the way, and you can trade with freedom. And after all, that's why you got into this in the first place. And I want this for you too. So if any of this resonates, click the link under this video, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. But until then, happy trading.